Is that one working? No. Should that work? All right. We like looking at ourselves, don't we, Mike? Right, okay, we best make a start. If everyone's ready, I think Peter will be arriving shortly, so I'll move with apologies for absence. So there'll be none if Peter arrives. He's definitely coming, is he, Mark? Yeah, okay then. So we'll move on to item 2, approve as correct record the minutes of 5th of August 2021, and that is on pages 5 to 8. So I'll move that. Seconded. Agreed. Thank you. And moving straight on to declarations of interest. If anyone's got declarations, I suppose we're all part of the carbon world and everything else, but none to declare there from anybody. 4, we'll move on, which is on 9 to 26, that community infrastructure levy, still non-parish funding, consultation response and funding decision. Who's going to do that?
Myself. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you.
The report starting on page 9 of the agenda seeks approval from Cabinet to utilise the SIL non-parish neighbourhood funding towards the nominated projects which have been deemed most suitable in accordance with the SIL regulations. Following an assessment of the projects, it was considered that projects LIS 0003 and LIS 0004 were the most suitable schemes nominated and remained in accordance with the SIL regulations, and it was therefore recommended that the SIL non-parish neighbourhood funding be awarded to these projects. You might recall on the 20th of May 2021, Cabinet approved the undertaking of a 4-week public consultation in relation to the 4 projects that were nominated for the SIL non-parish awards. The public consultation to seek stakeholders and local residents' views on the shortlisted projects commenced on the 7th of June 2021 and ended on the 5th of July 2021, and in total 5 representations were received. These representations are detailed in Appendix 1 of the report, along with the officer responses. In summary, project LIS 0003, the Green Lung Corridor, received 3 letters of support, 2 neutral representations, and no letters of objection. Project LIS 0004, Arnold Marketplace, received 3 letters of support, 1 neutral representation, and 1 objection. Taking the above representations into careful consideration, it is my opinion that the most suitable projects remain LIS 0003 and LIS 0004, and therefore the recommendation of the report is for Cabinet to approve the use of up to £50,000 for LIS 0003 towards the Green Lung Corridor, and for use of up to £43,000 to LIS 444 for the Arnold Marketplace redevelopment. Thank you, Leader. I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Comments? Michael?
Just thank you to Lewis for a comprehensive and clear report, and I just wanted to put on record, I know Councillor Hollingsworth may share this view and others, my thanks to those who took the time to respond, particularly to the Willow Farm Action Group, who I think have always engaged constructively with issues that affect particularly the community in and around Gedling Village, but actually more widely as well, and have been involved in, as you're aware and as Councillor Barnes will be aware, Leader, work around litter picks, across the area, etc. But constructively engaged in the local planning process, constructively engaged where there have been residential sites in and around Gedling Village, and have constructively engaged here. And I think it's pleasing to see their support for the Green Lung. I think they raise a fair point about ongoing maintenance. I think that's not lost on the council. It's certainly not lost on Mel Cryer's team, and I know thought is being given to that. And obviously there are comments made by Councillor Elwood I think are to be welcomed as well. And of course, as a councillor who represents the Arnold area, and I'm sure Councillor Ellis will agree with this, I'm very, very pleased to see the support for the Arnold Marketplace receiving a portion of the money as well. And I think the two projects, if you like, the Green Lung and the Arnold Marketplace, are 2 really important strands of the council's COVID recovery, both making sure people have got a place outside to exercise and make sure that mental well-being is a core part of going forward, because the stress and strain on people the last 18 months have been difficult, but also economic regeneration and our businesses bouncing back is important. And I think the second project, the Arnold Marketplace, shows that we're playing our part in terms of that as well. And of course, the interesting thing about the Arnold Marketplace is it's a project being done without any direct central government funding through the Towns Fund. It's this council standing on its own 2 feet, you went and argued, obviously, for some funding from the LEP, John, but we've not had any direct departmental money from central government. This is the council, Gedling Borough Council, trying to invest in our town centres. So, yeah, very good and an excellent report, Lewis, and I fully support the recommendation.
Thank you. Anyone else? Jenny?
Yeah, just to totally endorse what Councillor Payne said regarding the comments and the responses, and to thank everybody for doing that, and particularly Willow Farm Action Group, who have been very active in responding to quite a lot of consultation. And clearly what I've found is that their responses are always measured and well thought out, and they don't just make objections for the sake of it. They always try to be positive and look for the best things in those consultations. So a real thank you to them and everybody else who's responded.
Thank you. Anyone else? There's no one else, so I'll move that recommendation, which is on page 9. Seconded.
Seconded.
Thank you. Are we agreed? Thank you. Agreed. Moving on. On to the Carbon Management Strategy and Action Plan. Head of Environment.
Thank you, Leader. In November 2019, the Council declared a climate emergency, alongside which a pledge to achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2030 was made. To mitigate carbon emissions and improve the borough's resilience to a changing climate, a new local strategy and action plan were called for. In light of this report on page 27 in the pack to Cabinet and its accompanying strategy and action plan serve to update members on work already taken in this area, on those actions and activities surrounding carbon management, whilst further outlining GBC's commitment and ambition to show leadership in becoming carbon net zero by 2030. To further support this, we're currently recruiting a climate change officer who will take up post shortly and help deliver the action plan. Data on Gedling Borough Council's carbon emissions has been produced by the Department of Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, BEIS, as part of a nationwide data set of carbon emissions by local authority area for the period 2005 to 18. The BEIS data reports what are known as Scope 1 and 2 carbon dioxide emissions at local authority level. Scope 1 emissions cover the Council's own direct emissions, emissions from council buildings, fleet vehicles, and equipment and land use. Following this, they cover the whole borough area emissions within the borough boundary, including transportation, privately owned buildings, stationary, energy, generation of electricity and fuels consumed in the manufacturing, construction and commercial sectors, and agriculture and land use. Scope 2 emissions cover greenhouse gas emissions occurring due to the use of grid-supplied electricity and heat or cooling for council and private buildings and services within the borough boundary. And Scope 3 emission figures, which aren't included in this strategy, cover indirect emissions that include all greenhouse gas emissions that occur outside the borough boundary as a result of activities that take place within the boundary. Some examples of Scope 3 activities are the extraction and production of purchased materials, transportation of purchased fuels, and use of products and services. Although this strategy is structured around and focused predominantly on monitoring progress against the Scope 1 and 2 emissions in the BEIS figures, we'll also strive to reduce Scope 3 emissions, working collaboratively with local partners to reduce emissions from sources that we don't directly control. A point of note, part 1 in the report, recommendations, has an error left over from the draft report, and that is that following which the final consulted action plan be authorised in 3 months' time. That's a typo and shouldn't be in the report. Whilst consultation on the draft carbon management strategy isn't statutorily required, it is best practice and is in line with the public sector equality duty. The government has produced guidance on effective consultations which sets out a number of principles. In particular, consultations should be targeted, should be clear and concise, and should take account of the groups being consulted, and should allow adequate time for responding, to assist in the preparation of an effective strategy and to enable members to be properly informed by residents and stakeholders prior to the approval of the final carbon management strategy and action plan. Consultation is recommended. Regard must be had to the response prior to the approval of the final strategy. For this reason, the report recommends that Cabinet approve the Carbon Management Strategy and Action Plan at Appendix 1 to go out for wider consultation as detailed in the report, and to note work undertaken to date in relation to the actions and activities surrounding carbon management. And a quality impact assessment as regards the introduction of this strategy and action plan has been completed and will be attached to the strategy before it goes out to consultation. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments? Sorry, Viv and then Jenny.
Thank you. Thank you, Leader, and thanks, Mel, in terms of the update in terms of the report. And clearly it's really welcomed as an excellent document. I welcome the consultation. I think that will be really quite crucial, so I'm pleased that that's happening. Just one thing, could I ask that that when we have it returned after the consultation, that we have some targets, some stretch targets in there. I was particularly thinking about the targets for the charging stations. We know that one of the barriers to think about electric cars is where you're going to charge your car. And I would like to see what the ambition is in terms of how many charging points we would need and what our ambition is, because I think that will give people confidence about the future in terms of purchasing electric cars, to know that, you know, the availability of getting it charged up. So I'd like to see some stretch targets in the action plan when it comes back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Leader.
Jenny.
Yeah, just to endorse what Councillor McCrossan said about targets, but also to say a huge thank you to everybody that's been involved in producing the report, and certainly during a very difficult 18 months, I think it's quite an achievement to get all this together. I found it very interesting to read, and certainly look forward to the comments that come back from the consultation. So thank you, Lydia.
Thank you. David.
Thank you, Leader, and I'd echo the thanks to Mel for this excellent piece of work. It really repays reading and studying, and I think it's an effective response to those who try and say we're not taking climate change seriously as a council. I think it's a comprehensive assessment of what we've done and what further we need to do, both as a council and as community leaders. So I think it's a really good staging post. And like Councillor McCrossan, I look forward to hearing what comes out of the consultation. I would just pull out one particular point, and this is purely parochial. On page 19, it points out the 95 properties that have been either added solar panels or external cladding because of the through the green fuel grant, I think it is, which is something we've done through the public protection team, and I think that's a double win. It's both environmentally sound, but it also tackles fuel poverty, and it shows what can be done. So, but I think the rest of the document is great, and I look forward to hearing the responses. Thank you.
David. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. A very good report, Melvin. Thank you. I'm really pleased to see that there's a piece in here on page 38 around consumption and behavioural changes, particularly the need to reduce, particularly when referring to reducing food miles, which in itself will reduce carbon emissions further. Really pleased to see that there's some movement there, or some comments in there around growing food locally. As an allotment holder myself, I over the last 18 months or so, growing food and going to the allotment, particularly during lockdown, has been really useful in terms of helping with emotional health and well-being. But also it's incredibly good from the point of view of because I also work in a school, to see that you're looking at working with local schools as well to try and increase the production of food locally is really welcome as well. So I welcome that. I actually do a allotment club on a Tuesday at school. We're in the process of developing an allotment on site, so it'd be really useful to see quite a few other schools across the borough develop allotments and look at ways and means of growing food locally. So really, really pleased to see that within this document. Thank you.
Thanks, Henry. It was quite interesting on page 19 also about the Coal Authority response. We've seen that. I can confirm that the planning team, the Coal Authority, has no specific comments to make on the current consultation. We're in the process of cleaning the mess up from the coal industry, which was, happened then, but I thought it was, I don't know, somebody's just glanced at it. It's very frustrating. Michael?
Yeah, I mean, I just echo what everybody said in terms of thanking Mel and everybody involved in putting this strategy and action plan together. It's comprehensive, and I think, as Councillor Ellis says, underscores this council's commitment to do what it can to play its part in tackling clearly the greatest threat that faces humans, perhaps other than the immediate threat of COVID, which is still at large around the world. I guess just to bring some of the issues to life, and we're not entirely responsible for these issues. We have to work with our colleagues at the County Council as the Highways Authority, but anybody who has sat on the A60 Mansfield Road through Red Hill this week, in the ward I represent, where hundreds and hundreds of cars day in, day out have been stationary, chugging out emissions, leading down to Daybrook Square, which is already an air quality management area, because of new housing development that's taking place and utilities work, which clearly do need to take place for the development, will know just how problematic the amount of traffic we have flowing through the borough is, because we are dormitory to the city. So, anybody who travels on Woodborough Road, Porchester Road, Mapley Top, Collick Loop Road, Mansfield Road, all of which are tributaries into the city and out of the city at night, will know the amount of slow-moving traffic and therefore emissions that our borough suffers from as a result. And I guess the 2 points I just want to make in relation to that is, and I know this is referenced in the documentation, is we need to continue to strive to be as ambitious as we can as a borough about, A, getting traffic off the roads, because we're never going to be able to move the place we're at. We're on the edge of the city and we're always going to have that traffic coming down from the wider county. So how do we work to get vehicular traffic off the roads? Clearly improving public transport in terms of bus services, in terms of trams. There's clearly debate around a park and ride to the north of Red Hill that will play out over the next few months. But also, Councillor McCrosson's made this point before, how can we bring pressure to bear on the County Council to be even more aspirational around cycling and around making streets safe for pedestrians? Because I don't know if anybody else has walked around some of the residential streets, but vehicles sometimes being parked completely on the street so that pedestrians can't move around safely. School children sometimes not being able to get to school in a safe fashion because of the way that streets are. And there's some really interesting and exciting innovations, around the country, around introductions of cargo bike programs, and the such like. So I know we reference some of this stuff in the document, but I think it's a challenge to all of us to make sure that we are bringing influence to bear with the County Council and indeed the City Council and other partners to tackle some of those real significant issues in terms of the geographic challenge about where we're located on the edge of Nottingham City. But I think this is a fantastic document, and like the rest of colleagues in the Cabinet, I'm really interested to see what members of the public say, and I hope that some of the amazing groups we've got, including the Gedling Climate Change Group in the community, will take part in the consultation and share their expertise, passion and ideas so that we can further improve this strategy and action plan. But thank you, Mel. Thanks for the comprehensive report here today as well.
Thanks, Michael. It'd be interesting to see how many people are continually biting our ears and legs and everything over that we're not doing this, we're not doing that. How many of those reply? Because it's absolute chance here. So question back to you, Mel, is how are we going to drive the comms of this? How are we going to make sure that this is out there for people so they know that this is happening? I know we've got contacts, we've got other things, but we really do need to push this because they'll say we've not been involved. Yeah.
Well, we're going out into the community and speaking to various groups wherever possible to get the strategy out there, including the Gedling Climate Change Group and other similar groups across the borough, and also hoping to get it into schools at least so that it can be discussed in an educational setting too.
So can we put this on Keep Me Posted? I know it's not a sort of note, it is a notice really, to make sure that goes out, because I think we're over 30,000, is it, Michael, now? Something like that. That will hopefully make some people sit up and put their points of view. Viv?
Yeah, I know just a reminder to make sure that when we are gathering consultation, Mel, Mike, to make sure we do collect the demographic information as well, so we know who's actually responded in terms of parts of our community. Thank you.
Just on that, Leader, yeah, just confirm I will work with the communications team to make sure it goes as widely as possible. Plus, we also had an interesting conversation with one of our members of the public yesterday about ecology and things. So,
Yeah.
so we'll make sure a personal contact is made to all of those individuals and groups that have shown an interest in this area. Thank you, Leader.
Thanks a lot, because we've all, you know, I know through COVID people had time on their hands, and we've all been subject to the keyboard warriors, as I call them, who send out continually this sort of sometimes quite abusive things, and then they won't take part in a consultation like that. So, you know, we need to widely spread about the message. Peter.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, for being late, but I've been somewhere on an engagement. I think it's important that we make sure the schools and the children and the teenage know the problem we've got with cars and the fumes on the road. So I think it's important that we get the kids to realise that when they want the car, like we all did at teenagers, we've got to realise that we want to try and go a bit further than just a car. We want something which is more environment friendly and which is more economical for the country as a whole. So I think it's important that we make sure we've got the kids on board with this. Thank you.
It's the future. Yeah, thank you. Nobody else? Okay, then I'll move the recommendation. Seconded.
Seconded.
Sorry. Can we amend?
Oh, sorry, just give me there's an amendment somewhere. Where are we?
So, recommendation 1 at the end says, following which the final consulted action plan be authorised in 3 months' time. Clearly, we can't preempt the feedback from the consultation.
Yeah.
So we'd like to delete that sentence, please.
Okay, we agreed? We agreed, and we're agreed on the rest of it. That's fine, thank you. Item 6, we need to note that it's the key decisions. If there's any comments. There are none. We agreed. Thank you. That's the end of the meeting. Thank you.